Well, hello everyone. My name is Zachary O'Shea, and this is Box of Teeth. It's also just another Mimic Monday, so let's go ahead and jump into that Mimic for Dungeons & Dragons right now. Every just another Mimic Monday, I reach deep into that box of teeth and produce a homebrew Mimic for all of you for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. They're always a little bit horrific and sometimes a little bit silly, and this one leans a little more towards the silly side of things, but still has its uses, and that's the Grill Mimic. As you approach the campsite, it doesn't seem like it's been that way for very long. The fire pit in the middle still smolders, wisps of smoke drifting up from it. Blood pools here and there on the ground, and it's still fresh enough, only starting to get a little bit tacky. There's even an abandoned longsword not far from the tents. But the tents, they're battered and a little bit dusty, and that doesn't really mesh with the fresh carnage. The fire pit flares up, scorching your allies. Tendrils shoot from the ash of the fire pit, wrapping around your leg and dragging you towards the ring of stones, or as it turns out, an ember-filled maw of teeth. The misbegotten polyp of either a hearth or a kiln mimic, the Grill Mimic will spend its first few years in a feral state out in the wilds. It infiltrates campsites or abandoned settlements and sets itself up as a fire pit or maybe an abandoned grill, thus its name, because it knows its favorite prey, humanoids, always gather near fire, and humanoids are also lazy enough that they always want to start fires in the same place out of convenience. It may strike when someone is setting up all the kindling and leaves and wood to create a blaze, but it isn't harmed by fire. So if the prey seems too numerous or powerful, it may wait until most everyone is asleep, basking in the flames, and then when that lone adventurer is kind of quiet and watching the darkness, that's when it strikes. Now, some Grill Mimics do mature and move their way into towns or become part of an adventuring party. They are loyal companions that serve as portable or backyard grills, thus their name, as it were, and they're convenient in that sort of way, and we'll go into why, but it's always good to remember that wild animals are always wild. They can become dangerous on the turn of a copper. This holds true for Mimics as well. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the Grill Mimic statistics for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. The Grill Mimic is a challenge rating 3 medium monstrosity that is unaligned. Like any other Mimic, it does have Shape Changer, Adhesive, False Appearance, and Grappler, though it can only change into a fire pit or a grill. As mentioned before, it is also immune to fire damage. It does have an ability called Well Cooked, so it can always tell the temperature and consistency of anything that is cooked on it, and also whether or not that food is poisoned or diseased. If it chooses to let people know that, well, that's up to the Mimic. It does have multi-attack, so it can attack with its pseudopod twice, or it can substitute one of those attacks for Ashes to Eyeballs, which I'll mention in a moment. It also has a bite attack and flare up, so it can do a minor amount of fire damage to the creatures around it. Ashes to Eyeballs is simply it spits ash in a creature's eyes, blinding it for the next minute. The creature can repeat this save every round, with the blindness going away on success, and if it takes its action to actually wash out its eyes, it gets advantage on this roll. Nice, simple, does what it says on the box. That's how most Mimics should be. I'd love to hear how you would use them in your own campaign. I think there's a bunch of different ways to be nice and sneaky with them. As always, you can find the Grill Mimic, hundreds of other Mimics, and hundreds more horror-themed monsters, all for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, all perfectly free at boxofteeth.blogspot.com. If you're more interested in the non-Dungeons & Dragons horror-related projects that I have, or the horror fiction that I write that includes Grease Paint right here, it's got a Killer Clown. Book 2 should be out sometime this summer. You can always go to www.zacharyoshea.com. I really appreciate your time and attention as always, and hope that you have a wonderful rest of the week ahead of you.